It seems that today's marriage finds itself in the same situation as many other moral, political, or religious institutions. In the past, such institutions were above the people who embodied them. The spouses not only wanted to remain faithful to each other, but also to their marriage, as long as the marriage institution remained alive, revitalized by the Christian sap, it was an organic support for the spouses. But since it degenerated into pure legal formalism, the institution of marriage has turned into an intolerable burden for many. Our time has rebelled against the institution, in a search for freedom or personal fulfillment, in which love becomes a kind of pleasant veil that covers up or disguises sensuality and idolatry. Love stopped being an intimate union between two souls and became an insatiable desire for immediate happiness, and thus, believing he was freer, he became more of a slave to the levity and burden of the search for new and contingent experiences. Love and selfishness are increasingly entangled. In this way, those in love do not really get to know each other. They love a ghost that they create in the image of their desire, or in any case, they move towards a symbiosis of selfishness, towards an artificial compromise between two souls that have become strangers and closed themselves off from each other. Added to this enthronement of personal and selfish desire was a rupture between sexuality and marriage, between sexuality and procreation, and even between sexuality and love, which ended up ruining the institution of marriage. It is through marriage that the moral union of two people is produced who, despite not becoming one, enter into a communion in which each of the spouses do not limit themselves to desiring the other, but also desires for the other and with the other personal improvement, which is achieved through the donation of one person to another, and the natural consequence of this donation is its incarnation in children, who proclaim it and keep it alive. However, as the procreative end was hidden, the deterioration of the unitive end inevitably followed. Where contraception was imposed, the legalization of divorce was transformed into its natural consequence. What was supposedly created to free marriage from the burden of children ended up freeing the spouses from their own commitment, and with the expansion of divorce came an increase in the number of abortions, as a result of monstrous ideologies that conceive motherhood as a kind of slavery from which women must free themselves. Over time, contraception became the main cause of the demographic wreck in the West, whose low birth rate accentuates its economic deterioration and encourages the immigration avalanches that sweep global capitalism, which can thus pay increasingly lower wages, which at the same time it dissuades new generations from getting married and having children. Thus, new forms of narcissistic and solipsistic love are provided, which love more their own intoxication and exaltation, transforming the loved one into a ghost created according to their desire. Forms of love that inevitably fail when this ghost shows its imperfections and miseries. Because these narcissistic loves only live to lust. True conjugal love, on the other hand, lives by giving itself without asking for anything in return, and thus, out of pure gratuitousness, he obtains his reward, which is none other than feeling united, defeated by the other, invaded by the silent joy of surrender.